Ladies and gentlemen, hello and welcome to the channel. I'm Stylosa, and in this video, we are going to rate the best ultimates in Overwatch. So, let's do this. All right then, let's go over to the beautiful tier maker, and we're going to check this out, and we're going to work out which are the best ultimates in the game. Now, I've got a t-shirt on, ladies and gentlemen, which might give you some advice as to what I think is actually the best ultimate in the game. But before we get into that, let's take a look at the tiers that we've got. We've got God tier ultimates. These are ultimates where it's easy to get value with. They win fights pretty much by pressing one button, and they are just the best ultimates in the entire game. Then, we've got super strong. These are like pretty good, and they're probably going to win you a lot of fights. They're probably going to win you a lot of engagements or whatever the hell you want to say. These are really good. Not as good as God tier, but pretty good. Maybe they're a little bit harder to pull off. Then, we get situational. Ultimates that work sometimes, but depending on what the enemy team are doing, what their comp is, what our comp is, and that kind of thing. And then we've got very situational. These are ultimates that they work sometimes, maybe they don't all the time. It very much depends what the enemy team are doing. And probably, if I'm honest, the enemy team probably has to be brain dead to suffer from these ultimates, which is a thing because this is Overwatch. Anyway, and then we've got trash tier that are just so bad, like actually nobody cares about these ultimates because they're just so bad. All right then, let's do it. Now, we've got to go straight away for Sombra. EMP, it's a God tier ultimate. Why is it God tier? Oh my God, where do I even start? So you just press a button on your controller or press your ultimate button on your keyboard if you're playing on PC and you win a fight. Do I even need to say any more than that? It is so powerful because you know what's even good about this ultimate? Because you can do stuff like if you've got your team on the mic and you're like, yo guys, I'm about to EMP, get ready guys. We're gonna combo with like, I don't know, Diva Bomb or something. And yo, let's go, EMP. And your team are listening and you actually pull off an EMP, then your team engage. Oh my God, it's beautiful. But you don't even have to do that with EMP. All you got to do is EMP the enemy team when a fight breaks out. So as a massive fight breaks out, you got a bit of a brawl, you just literally EMP and you will hit people and you'll kill them. You can even say, guys, I'm EMPing, and just EMP. You don't even have to tell them any kind of lead up. You can just do it and you'll win the fight. It is amazing. It's the best initiation ultimate in the game. It's the best ultimate to use at any random point in the game, provided you hit the enemy team. It's dead easy to hit the enemy team with. It is actually a God tier ultimate, and there is no dispute, ladies and gentlemen, in my mind about that. It is just actual, just mega. Okay. What other ultimates do I think are actual mega God tier? Now, this is where it might get a little bit controversial because I think I'm going to put Graviton in there, and I don't think that's really that controversial because Graviton is super good. But the thing with Grav now is, yes, it's a long ultimate to charge, and it was nerfed a while ago where it doesn't have the same radius it used to have. Because if you guys remember back in the day, you get a grab the enemy team, and then you kill them. The only thing they could do to stop the Grav is this. They could use Transcendence. But here's the kicker. Grav now isn't as powerful as it used to be because you can do things like Batiste, Immortality Field. Maybe you've just got tanks sucked into it. They've got the barriers up. You've got a Sigma sucking away. There's a load of ways you can actually negate the damage of a Graviton. So it isn't like it used to be in the past where it was just a Grav and then everyone died because it was Grav Dragon. Everyone was dead. But a Grav Dragon into like a Transcendent Zen or Immortality Field down from Batiste, there's a lot of ways to kind of deal with it and absorb that damage. So not as good as it was, but it's still absolute God tier because it's easy to pull off as well. Once you've charged it, you legit just fire it at the enemy team. Provided you don't fire it into Sigma sucking or Diva's defense matrix. God tier ultimate. I will have no debate, ladies and gentlemen. Now, we might have a debate here because this is going to be Transcendence as the next one. Now, Transcendence is, what I like about Transcendence is it's very reactionary. So you can pop Transcendence to counter what the enemy are doing. That's what makes it super strong. So if you do get caught in a Grav, bang, you can Transcend. And it's like, oh, this is really great. Maybe your team get caught in Sigma's Graviton Flux. Bang, Transcendence. It's super good for that. But you have to be on hand to actually get the Transcendence off because you might be too far away. You maybe transcend at the wrong time. You get no value from it. Maybe you get hit with an Ana grenade and you're kind of not doing anything because, well, everybody's been hit by the Ana nade if you were in a Grav, for example. So, yeah, but it can negate high damage ultimates. Hell, look at EMP. If you hide from EMP as Zen and your team get EMP, then you run out with Transcendence. You've basically countered EMP. It's really good. It's got high counter potential. It's very reactionary, but it does take quite a lot of skill to use. This one does compared to, well, I think the previous two. But it's still, I believe, ladies and gentlemen, an actual God tier ultimate. And I have no debate about that at all. Like, actually, no debate. All right. Let's look at the other ultimates now. Now, this is where we might get a little bit, I don't know, maybe we're going to sort of, I think people are going to be like, Sty, I don't agree with what you're saying here, my friend. and that's fine, right? It's fine. I'm going to go for it because I'm going to put Ana's Nano Boost as a god tier ult. Now, on its own, Nano Boost can literally do nothing. You can give it to somebody and they can do nothing. Now, I think with this ult, lower tiers of the game, so like probably in gold and below, you nano someone, you don't really get too much value from it. I've seen a lot of Ana players moan and go, well, can't I nano myself? Well, you can if you play deathmatch, but you can't in the game. That would be stupid. But at those ranks, maybe. But when you start going up the ladder, oh my God, Nano suddenly becomes a beautiful ultimate. It becomes a fight-winning ultimate when it is used with other ultimates. So you could argue it's kind of situational. I don't think it is, because if you've got a Genji on your team, you're going to nano Genji, right? That's a Genji nano blade. That is just going to be devastating. I mean, there are ways of stopping it. You could kill the Genji, crowd control the Genji. You could try and use Transcendence, although he can cut through that. You can use Sound Barrier. There's all things you can kind of try and do, but it makes the enemy team do something, and it is just devastating. What about if you nano Soldier? You've got a nano Visor. Again, a massively powerful ultimate when it's got nano. What about if you just nano a Roadhog, or you just nano a Reinhardt? What happens if you nano someone who's about to die and you save them as they're getting loads of enemy firepower invested into them? It is so good, but this requires a bit of skill to pull off. You can't just fire it at anyone and expect it to work. You need to know the person you're giving it to is going to do something with it, and you need to kind of try and guess what the enemy might do with their ultimates and what they might just do anyway in a game to try and counter high damage spikes. It's a mega ultimate. It's really, really good. I think as well, for me, it's one of those ultimates I like the design of. Like, it's really cool. It's really thematic. It fits with Ana, and I love it. And I think, Blizz, you've done a good job, and I love it. I do love that. Now, I think we might actually come off god tier ults. Now, I'm tempted to put Sound Barrier in as a god tier ult. But I might leave Sound Barrier. No, whatever. We're going to do it. Sound Barrier is a god tier ult. I would like it if Sound Barrier is scaled with height. So if you jumped off a building, you get a massive Sound Barrier. I think there's a workshop mode for that. But yeah, Sound Barrier. The thing, though, when you look at these ultimates, right? You look at Sound Barrier, you look at Transcendence, and even Grav to some extent, and even Nano, I guess, is EMP. Just destroys them all. If EMP is used properly, these get no value. But if you wait for the EMP as Lucio and EMP goes in, then you Sound Barrier. You've countered it. Very similar to Zen. The difference is Zen's ultimate is better than Sound Barrier because Zen's is instant, right? You know with Zen, you can react straight away. I think at the pro level, don't quote me on this, but when it was like you'd have like 3 supports on a team some days back in the day, or you had like a Lucio and a Zen, you would always use the Zen first because it's reactionary. So if a Genji Blade came in out of nowhere, you would pop the Zen because you knew you could deal with stuff. Whereas the Lucio was more, it's a little bit more wind-up time. Although you could use them any other way. It kind of doesn't matter. But yeah, it's an ultimate that does counter a lot of other ultimates that get used. But it is destroyed by EMP, which is why EMP is undoubtedly the best ultimate in the game. It just wins fights. I mean, you hacked. Everybody is AoE hacked when it hits. You can't do anything. And then you die. And if you've got shields, they're gone. So if you're Zarya, if you're Zen, if you're anybody with shields, Symmetra, it's bad. It's actually bad news. All right, I'm going to cough. What the hell? I use my mute button. I best check my app on my phone to see if I am secure. It says I am. Can't be too careful in this day and age, ladies and gentlemen. Anyway, moving on. So, I think we're going to come off god tier ults for now. I think I'm happy with those as god tier ults. Let's talk about super strong ults. Ults that work a lot of the time, and you can just kind of use this ult on your own and just win a fight. So let's populate this before we talk about it. So I'm going to go for Genji Blade. I'm going to go for... I'm going to go for Mei. Absolutely going for Mei there. Got to be Gravitic Flux. That is a hugely powerful ultimate. I'm going to go for Bob. That might be kind of controversial, but I'm going to go for Bob, and I'll explain why. And then I think I might go for... I'm tempted to go for Echo, you know? I was going to go for Diva, but I think I might go for Echo. Because Diva is like... Yeah, like you can avoid Diva's ult easily, really. Okay, we're going to go for Echo in that tier. And do I want any more? See, I like. Oh, you know what? I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna explain why I've done this. Okay, so Genji Blade. I think this just makes sense. It's Genji whips his blade out. He does massive damage when he slashes you. It resets his dash. He can kill, dash, kill, dash. He can get loads of value. We've all been victim to this. You can stop it though. If it isn't a nano blade, which if it is a nano blade, it's probably good night Vienna. But if it isn't, there are ways you can deal with this. You can crowd control the Genji. There's loads of ways of doing that. Flashbang, Roadhog hook, Sigma rock. There's loads of stuff you could do to him. Or you can just kill him, because if you start shooting at him, you'll start deflecting, which means he's not slashing, which means that he's not getting much value. Then you can kill him. But if he just whips this out while he's on top of a Zen or he's in your back line, you're probably going to lose your back line 90% of the time. It is so strong. Even I can use this ultimate, and I am trash at Genji, but I can still get value with that ultimate. So it's Genji Blade. I think it speaks for itself. Mei's ultimate. This is... wow. Any fight which is taking place on a point or an overtime push on a payload, this wins the game. Pretty much instantly. You throw this in, everybody is froze, and actually, if Mei's firing at you with a primary fire, you get froze faster in it. It's disgusting. You're going to get froze from this. You're not going to take loads of damage, but you're going to get froze. You can't do anything. You're going to get destroyed. There's going to be loads of headshot damage coming into you. You're just going to die. It's really good, Mei's ultimate. Did I swap these around? I don't know, but I'm talking about Mei's ult anyway. Mei's ult is really good, though. It's super strong. It's very hard to stop. You can stop it. You can eat it with D.Va. Sigma can eat it as well, but it's very hard. You can just lob this thing onto the ground, and you get a ton of value. Mei's ultimate, very easy to use, loads of value, shuts down people on points, dead good on any kind of control point map if you're like going into overtime. Dead good on payload maps if it is in overtime, you need to control it. Hybrid maps, it's great. It's just great on every map type. It's literally amazing. It's one of those ults that will win games. Very similar to this then. So this is Sigma's ult, Gravitic Flux, I believe. Or well, Gravitic Flux. This ultimate is, again, one of those ults that's really good for stopping people in overtime. You can just pick them up the payload, and sometimes you can actually get them off the payload enough for the overtime wick to burn down. But what makes this really good is it's very easy to use. Now, Sigma is kind of vulnerable when he uses it. He flies up into the air. He is susceptible to crowd control. Anna could put him to sleep. He could get another Sigma throw a rock at him, for example, or a flying McCree throws a flashbang at him, and that will interrupt the cast, and he won't do it. But it's very easy to get a lot of value from this. And because it's on a tank, what kind of differentiates this between other tank ultimates is if you look at Gravitic Flux compared to Graviton Surge and compare it to Earth Shatter, Grav and Earth Shatter have no damage component, really. Gravitic Flux does, and crucially, has that crowd control component. Look at D.Va Bomb. D.Va Bomb, yeah, it's got a lot of damage and a bit of crowd control because it forces you to run away from it, but it's easy to run away from. Gravitic Flux, if it's cast on top of you, you are not getting away from that unless you've got some sort of a help. Maybe you've got a Zarya bubble or something like that. You're going to get picked up. And then when you're in the air, the enemy team are going to shoot you. You're going to get destroyed. They might even combo a dragon through it or even a Deadeye or something like that. And it's going to be bad news for you. It is a very good ultimate. There's actually an argument for putting that in God tier ultimates, to be honest, because that's it's a really good ult. You know, I might put that in God tier. I'm putting it in God tier. It's been promoted. Congratulations, God tier ultimate. Okay, let's talk about Bob. Bob, I love Bob. Now, Bob, at first, I thought was going to be trash because it's literally a Torb turret. Who cares about a Torb turret? It's not going to kill anyone. But what you don't take into account is the surprise Bob in your back line. As a fight breaks out, Bob's launched somewhere. You don't know where he is. You're focusing on the enemy. You're getting shot in the back. You're like, oh, what's going on? And then you're dead to Bob. Maybe you don't die to Bob, but he does enough damage to you that somebody else kills you. And then Bob instantly shoots somebody else. He is fast. He's really quick. He's better than a Torb turret as well with damage output. But he instantly locks on. Bang, 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 and then he's gone. Also, when you cast him, he runs forward and knocks people up in the air, which is a bit of crowd control, which again is super strong because if you're knocking people up in the air and you're playing Widow, you can just shoot him in the head. Or, well, I guess you'd be playing Ash if you're using Bob. But you get what I'm saying. When you're up in the air, you're very easy to hit. You're same as if you jump, you're very easy to hit. It's just incredible. And it gets a lot of value. I can guarantee you use this ultimate in pretty much any fight, you'll get loads of value. Yeah, the enemy could put a shield in front of Bob. They could sleep him. They could hack him, but that doesn't really do too much. They could... Sigma could suck in front of him. There's a lot of things. It could put a Mei wall in front. There's a lot of things you could do. But that's only when you look at it in a sort of test tube, in a microcosm of like, what happens if I just throw Bob at this enemy team? Yeah, they'll deal with it. But when the fight breaks out and there's a Bob, and remember, Bob can test points as well. So if you really need to get to a point just before overtime, you can throw Bob in and he'll get that point and he'll contest it for you. He's really good. He's really good, Bob. I like Bob. He's much better, I think, than he kind of should be. Calling for Bob Nerfs. Oh dear. All right then, duplicate. You can just have any ultimate. I mean, I'll just leave it at that. Yeah, Echo can turn into anyone if they're on the enemy team. It's pretty good. It's pretty good. Okay, let's move on. Now I like ball. Okay, all right. The reason why I like ball, minefield is it. So it's kind of like Maze Ultimate. That's the sort of way I'm looking at this. It functions in the same sort of way. It shuts down an area, but because you can combo it with the way ball plays. So if you're going to use this, what you do most of the time is as you're in the air with ball, you would cast your minefield, so you use your ultimate, it drops down, and then you pile drive into the ground. That knocks people up, and then the mines rain down on them. It does loads of damage to them. They can't avoid them. Then you shoot them and pick them off, or the rest of your team kill them. You can throw it onto payloads in overtime and get people off them. You can throw it onto points to control a point. It's almost, in its own kind of way, like an I win button. But there are ways of dealing with this. So this is why it's not a god tier ultimate. You can wipe the minefield out. You can literally just avoid the mines. You can even shoot the mines. And yeah, but I think it works really well for Hammond as well. It's again like one of those really thematic ultimates. I think it's a good job Blizzard have done with that. So yeah, I think it's super strong. And again, the way I'm rating these on these tiers, I like how much value you get from them in sort of any given scenario. And Ball's ultimate, you kind of get value from it all the time, wherever you use it, really, unless you just chuck it somewhere where there's no players. But yeah, it's a very strong ultimate. Okay, let's move on to the next tier. Let's go to situational. Now, okay. Also, for this as well, we're going to imagine that Batista's got his new immortality field, so it's bigger. Well, I don't think that affects it too much, because I still think it's going to go in that tier. But let's just populate situational. So I'm going to go Doomfist, Hanzo, Riptire. I think I'm going to go Bongo as well. Pulse Bomb. It's got to be Pulse Bomb. Or Tank Mode. I don't know. We'll come back to Tank Mode. We'll come back to that one, but I'm going to leave it there for now. I think we can go. I think we can actually go Torb in this as well. And because it's new Soldier, I think this is going to be very popular this tier. And then I think we're going to go Hog as well. See, the problem I've got here is I don't know. Like this tier, very situational. I don't know. I might change this tier because. I think we're okay. I think we're going to end up with loads of alts here. We're going to go for it. No, I think we can keep very situational because Widow's ult has kind of convinced me of this. I think we can. And maybe we go for. See, Rally is a good ultimate. I think we're gonna. You know what? I'm gonna put Rally in situational. Coalescence could be as well. The current Earth Shatter is so bad in Overwatch. Like, I kind of want to put it in the bottom tier, just as like as a protest to Blizzard. Do we put Mercy in this tier? I think we do. All right, okay. Let's explain where we are, what we're thinking. Right. Doomfist's ultimate, situational, because Doomfist is using it a lot of the time to get out of a bad situation. So if he goes in too deep and he's going to die, he uses it to get out. Or when he's got his ultimate available, he knows that I can be crazy and just go in and punch and do whatever he needs to do and then use the ult to get out. Very rarely do you use this to kill people. It's just an escape mechanism. Sometimes you might combo it with like a Grav or something, but yeah, you can combo it with Gravitic Flux as well, actually, kind of successfully. It's still situational though. You can't just use this like you can a Genji Blade and just get massive value and like win a fight. You're not going to do that with this ult. So I think that's fair. Dragon is the same. People just move out of the way of Dragon, but Dragon can catch people off guard. Dragon's very similar to D.Va ult, which is kind of what, like, I was going to put D.Va ult in this tier, but I'm going to put that in the tier below just because it's easier to run away from. You can't run away from a Dragon if it's fired through, let's say, Hanamura on the second point, high ground, like you're attacking through the little corridor. Dragon comes through with dead guys. We can't really get out of it unless we somehow D.Va defense matrix it or Sigma suck it or Genji deflects it, right? It's going to come through and get you. So I still think Dragon is better in that sense than Diva Bomb. And yeah, you can combo it with things like Graviton as well. And even Gravitic Flux works really well with that. Yeah, it's all right. It's situational. You're not going to get value all the time. But it's okay, right? It's a decent ult. Riptire, I think, is exactly the same. The only difference with Riptire is it can be destroyed, so you can actually get no value from it. But when you're clever with Riptire, and I'm going to be honest, guys, it's not that hard to be clever with Riptire. You just sort of roll up a wall a bit and then drop down from the sky. You probably get a kill. So, yeah. But it's still kind of situational because you're not going to use this. Like, if you're in the middle of a fight. What the hell, ladies and gentlemen? I should have bought a drink in. These tier list videos go way too long and my throat gets destroyed. Anyway, yeah, Riptire. You're not going to use it in a fight, right? Because the fight's breaking out. Everybody is like, you can't just go, oh, I'm whipping the Genji Blade out and off I go. Well, you could with the Genji Blade, but you can't with Riptire because you'd sit down and you'd pull your Riptire off your back and then you die. So it is kind of used where you're sort of hiding in a position and then use it. It's situational. Bongo, again, is situational because you need to use it when a fight breaks out. You need to use it in a position where you know it's not going to get destroyed so it can stay active for as long as it can because, of course, it attaches to every target it can see. So it has to have line of sight to your allies and it will damage boost them. So it's good, but it's situational and you really have to babysit it. You can't just drop the bongo and run off because, well, it'll just get destroyed. So, yeah, it's situational, but it can turn fights, bongo can. And it's actually quite good if you use it like in counter to what the enemy are doing. So if the enemy did have like a, I don't know, maybe they're using attack visor or they're using even a Genji Blade or something, you can drop your Gravitic Fluxes as your bongo as an answer to that, provided it's got the barrier around it and you're next to it and you can body block it and use Fortify. Might give your team the extra damage to kill the Genji really fast or maybe take out the soldier or something like that. It's a good ultimate, but it's kind of boring to use, which is kind of, well, that's, unfortunately, ladies and gentlemen, what Orisa's like. Anyway, moving on. So, Pulse Bomb. Yeah, this is the epitome of situational. Pulse Bomb is an ultimate that is literally just an ability. You charge this so fast with Tracer, you just yeet it at people. You don't care. You just run around the corner. Oh, yeah, there's a target. I'll throw it at them. Maybe I get them. Maybe I don't. There are times where you might use it intentionally, like into a grab, or you're waiting to take out maybe that key enemy support player. But most of the time, if you're being honest with me, a lot of players just use this is purely situational. You almost forget you've got it. It's like you're firing, you're like, oh, yeah, I got Pulse Bomb, and then you just chuck it. That's why I think it's situational. Tank mode. Now, this can be shut down quite easy, but when Bastion becomes a tank and starts firing those massive damage, basically rockets out of his cannon, it is massive. Like, the damage is massive. It comes out of nowhere a lot of the time, and it's hard to deal with this, but you can put him to sleep. You can crowd control him. You can hide behind barriers. Clever Bastions, though, will use the rocket jump, so you can fire this into the floor. It'll make you jump. They'll get to positions Bastion shouldn't be in and rain down damage, but it's very situational, much like Bastion himself. In fact, me saying that Tracer's ult is like the quintessential situational ultimate. It's probably Bastion, because he is the most situational hero in the game, probably. All right, then, let's move on. Torb. So, Torb, I like Torb's ult, because I'm a bit sick, but I like Torb's ult, and I think if you sort of drill down with Torb's ult, it's very similar to Maze and to Bull's ultimate for area denial, and even maybe Sigma. But the difference is, those three ultimates I've just listed are very reliable in terms of where you're going to use them and what you're going to use them on. Torb's ult, it kind of isn't. So Torb just spews his molten load in the direction of an area he wants to shut down. Most of it will go there. Some of it might bounce off a shield. Some might hit a wall. Some might go on the floor. Yeah, it's a bit messy. And, yeah, you can also combo this with Grav and stuff like that, where it can be quite good. I seem to be obsessed with comboing stuff with Grav and Gravitic Flux, but they're really good ultimates. So if you do get a Gravitic Flux, everyone goes up. You do the old Torb splurge below. They're landing it. They're going to take loads of damage. Yeah, it's situational, though. It's good for locking down angles. It's good for locking down areas of the map if there's kind of not a lot of stuff in the way to, well, stop the splurge. Decent ultimate, though. It's definitely better than his old ultimate. That was absolutely terrible. Okay, Soldier's ultimate. Right, Soldier right now is having a bit of a renaissance period because he does more damage. He's just generally better all round to play if you can aim. His tack visor has got more bullets than it used to have, so it does more damage. Now, you can nano this, and it's a devastating ultimate. Even though when it ain't nanoed and you just blindly use this in a fight, provided you're not firing into a barrier, you will get value because it's an aimbot and it's going to do a lot of damage. If you flank with Soldier, you're going to get a lot of damage with this. If you're defending on the Barney first point, for example, on the high ground, you pop attack visor, you're spraying everyone. So it's situational. It depends on what maps you're on. It depends on what parts of the maps. It depends on what the enemy team is doing at any given time. You can't just use this like you could a Genji Blade and then dash in the back line and get results. You're not going to be able to do it. This, you're just standing there firing away. But it is still very reliable. On the value scale to sort of implement, it's a fairly high ultimate because you just press a button and then just start firing and you will hit targets. Provided it's not into a barrier, though. But yeah, still nowhere near as easy to use as EMP. All right, then. So Soldier, yeah, he's kind of bland as well, but whatever. All right, Hog. Okay, Hog Ultimate is very situational because you're only really going to use this if you can trap somebody in the corner of a wall and just rail them with it, like absolutely destroy them, or you need to knock them off the payload. You very rarely just use this in a fight and just start spraying around. It's disruptive, but it's really good for killing teams in overtime, not actually physically killing them, but removing them off the point so you win. You can basically force C9s with this and very reliably. In fact, this is the best ultimate for a forced C9, unless, I guess, you sort of grab the whole enemy team before they get to a payload or a point. But my point is, that's terrible, but whatever, is that, yeah, it's very good. It's going to knock people all over the place, but you're only going to be able to use it at certain points to get a ton of value. We've all seen Hog just ulting, and when Hog ults, he's very vulnerable because he can't self-heal, he can't hook, and he just sort of stands there and then he dies. So you've got to be very careful, Hog players. But it's a nice ultimate to have, and I think it actually suits Hog quite well because Hog does a lot of damage anyway, and his ultimate, if he gets nanoed and uses it, does do a disgusting amount of damage if you're hitting people at close range and knocking them into a wall. If you're just firing it into them and knocking them back, it's not going to be too much value there, but it's still a good ultimate. Okay, window is massive on the experimental card right now. It's huge. It's like a soccer or football goal because I'm from the UK. It's massive. It's absolutely massive. So this means most of your team can use this now when you put it down in front of you. But they still need to be behind it. They still need to fire through it. And we've all been there when we see a window go down and we want to use the window, but we're just not in a position to use it. A lot of Batiste players would use this for themselves and then just try and get a few headshots, which was fine. You know, it still increases your damage by a ton and it's still pretty good. Also increases healing as well. That goes through it. But just very situational. Like, you have to have your team in front of you to get value from this. And it's very rare your team's all together, especially in the meta right now. Everyone's all over the place. So it's like, yeah, it's very difficult to get any value with this. So, situational. Rally. All right, this is situational because Rally is, you've got to be next to Brig to get value from it. You have to be next to her for a couple of seconds to get the full amount of armor off it. Yes, she moves quicker. Yes, she applies armor to people with it. She's pretty much invulnerable when she uses it. She's not technically, but she has so much armor being applied to her over time. It's very hard to kill a Brig that is using Rally, but she needs to be by a team. And this means that it's situational because you need your team to have a certain team comp, much like GOATs. Anybody remember that meta? If you don't remember that meta, I mean, just go back and watch Overwatch like 18 months ago for 2 years prior to that. Maybe not 2 years, but you know what I'm saying? It was a very long meta. She's super strong there because all of the components of that comp were very slow moving. They're all together in a big blob. She's very situational like that with her ultimate. I think that sums it up. Next one is Primal Rage. Now, I like Primal because Primal, if this was a tier of difficult ultimates to use, Primal would be at the top because it is so difficult to juggle people with Primal. Everyone can knock people away, but you can actually juggle people. You can smash them where you want them to go. You can knock them off the map as you're jumping around with your rocket jump or whatever the hell it's called for Winston. As you're using it, you can control it. It's really good. And you get loads of health and you can contest a point. But there's a lot of negatives to this. You see this get used, and then you're just a massive ult battery. The rest of the enemy team shoot you. In fact, I've noticed this a lot. People just focus down the Primal Winston now. Before, people might ignore him, but not now. It's like we're just going to kill him because he's going to give us loads of ultimate charge, which is unfortunate. It gets a ton of value, again, in overtime. It's kind of like Roadhog's ult, where you need to make that space. You can use it. And I like it because on Winston, he's a main tank. So really, he should have crowd control style ultimates, ones for making space. So I think it works well. And again, very thematic. Probably the most thematic ultimate in the game because literally he goes into beast mode. And he's Beast from X-Men, effectively. So yeah, really good ultimate, really hard to use, and very situational in terms of getting value from it. Coalescence. Now, this kind of belongs in a tier of its own, where if it's situational, its situational use is all the time, because this is a kind of like, it's kind of like a, I don't want to say a throwaway ultimate because you can get good value from it, but it's like you can use this at any time in a fight, and Moira is invincible while this is active. Not technically, I know, not technically. If I had a neck beard, I'd stroke it. She's not technically, but she regenerates so fast. She's pumping damage out. She moves really quick. She's very hard to hit when she's using this. Ton of regeneration. It goes through your team and the enemy team, so it heals your team, damages the enemy team, so you get double sort of value from it. You can just use this all the time, basically. As soon as you've got it, a fight breaks out, you're going to use it. So situational might not be fair for this, but it's sort of like medium impact ultimate that you can use all the time. I kind of don't have a tier for it, but so it's going in the middle. Yeah. All right, Mercy's ult. Now, this one. Oh, Blizz. I wish Blizz gave us something a bit better, because the problem with this ultimate, and I'm going to rant. I'm actually going to rant now. The problem with Mercy's ultimate is when you use it, you just feel like nothing different is happening than when you just generally are playing Mercy, healing away with your Caduceus staff, because you just got an AoE component to it, which is like great. Also, you fly, obviously, which is kind of good. I just wish it did more. It's kind of not a situational ultimate. It's kind of like Moira's ult, where you can just use it and it's going to be okay. But with Moira's ult, you can specifically target down people and kill them and wipe them out, which I guess you could do with Mercy's. You could whip out the pistol, because of course you just keep firing. There's no reload. You just keep firing, which is okay, I guess. But it's just, I don't know. I think Blizzard need to do something with Mercy's ult, and it's always been a gripe with me for a while. It's not really high impact. I don't know. Am I right with that? I don't know. You guys let me know in the comments below. All right, let's move on. Let's go to very situational. I think this is going to be quite easy, right? So these are very situational ultimates. I think I'm done. All right. Okay, let's just put these in there. I think I'm done. All right, okay. So, very situational D.Va Bomb. Well, I mean, you can yeet the D.Va Bomb, and unless you're actually bronze or silver, you won't die to the D.Va Bomb, right? Am I right? Am I right? Am I right, guys, in the chat out there? Leave a comment below. Yeah, am I right? So, you shouldn't die to D.Va Bomb. This ain't 2016 anymore. You should be able to avoid this. Yeah, there are cheeky bombs you can do. I love the ones where people jump out the mech and then, as the baby D.Va, knock it off the ledge and it drops down and just like blows everyone up, because I don't expect it to move. Or where you get it on like a nice trajectory and yeet it over a building. I like that stuff. It is good, but it's very situational. A lot of the time you won't get kills with this, but you will force the enemy away. It's okay. You can use it when your team use other ultimates, like your Gravs, like your Gravitic Flux. It's probably better with Gravitic Flux, to be fair, than it is with a Grav, because in a Grav everyone's together and they can all kind of like shield and whatever. Yeah, it's just situational. And you'd use it sometimes if you're about to die, because if you're not in the mech as D.Va, you get 0 value. So a lot of the time, you're about to be demeched, you get demeched, I'll just pop my ulti to get back in a mech. Gives you the protection as the mech's going off. A lot of the time, the enemy players run away, they don't want to stand there, because they might get blown up. But if they're better at the game, they will kill you as you try and do this, because they know D.Va Bomb has got a pretty long cooldown to explosion, comparatively. So yeah, D.Va Bomb, situational. Shield from Symmetra. Definitely situational. It's really strong. Like, one thing I've got to say about this, it is really strong. It just shuts hitscan down. Hitscan cannot do anything when this is active, but it has to be active on a map to get a ton of value that it works on. Hanamura, second point. The defense on that, if you are playing Symmetra, you can just cut off the point. It is so powerful. But there are other maps where it's not too strong. Like, try and use it on a King's Row. It's going to be hard to get value there, because the map snakes around. It's difficult, right, to get value in that scenario. So it is very situational. But when you pull it off, very powerful. Like, it's a very powerful ult. And I really like this ult as well. And I believe there's actually a bit of a sort of behind-the-scenes story with this, where Blizzard had to make some new tech to sort of make this work, because it didn't work in the past, which it just literally would not have worked. And they had to invent a new bit of technology to make it work, which is beautiful stuff. And I don't know why my nose is running. What the hell is going on? That's very hygienic. Anyway, moving on. So, okay. All right. I've got to defend myself. I have absolutely got to defend myself with this Widow ult. Okay. So, this is super situational, because you use it when the enemy Widow uses hers, right? That's where you get the most value from this ultimate. Or if they don't have a Widow, you just use it when it's on cooldown, basically, or as you're about to go into a fight. Like, you wouldn't use it if, 4 of your team have just been killed and you're like, oh yeah, I'm going to attack visor. That's throwing, that's feeding, that's inting. But you will use it when a fight breaks out. We're about to get together and attack the enemy team. I'm going to pop attack visor. I can see where they are. Going to get a lot of value. It's still very situational though, I think, just because of like the times you can get value from this are difficult. It becomes, I think if we could like have adaptive tiers here with this, it would be, we'd be moving this up sort of like into super strong if it's a widow versus widow, because you need it. Because without that, the other widow is going to have like a lot of leeway. Or if you're not using your infrasight at the same time they're using their infrasight, if they've got a widow, you're going to be at a major disadvantage because they're going to be able to wall hack and just headshot you. So it's an interesting ult, that is. But I think that's a fair rating, to be honest. Right then, Earth Shatter. Oh, Blizz, what have you done to Earth Shatter? I really want to know. This used to be beautiful. Well, I know what you did. You reduced the stun time on it. So you shatter. And, well, people just fall over and get back up. There's no, like, it's not great. Now, there is nothing better in the world than when you are... let's go full screen. There's nothing better in the world than when you're a Rhine v Rhine and you outwit the Rhine and you shatter him. It is the ultimate domination move. You've destroyed him. You've dominated him. And then you kill him. The problem now is you earth shatter him. He just gets back up by the time you get back to him. To smash his brains out or to charge into him. And then he countercharges you. Blizzard have destroyed this ultimate. It's nowhere near as good as it used to be. It's very situational because you're kind of going to use it as a reaction to maybe stop, I don't know, like a ult in Genji or something like that to control. Or if the enemy team doesn't have barriers and they're all together in front of you, yeah, let's use it and just try and go in. Not as good as it used to be, which is a shame because I like Reinhardt. Okay, finally, we are at the trash tier. Now, this might not be totally fair to McCree because you could put McCree in situational, I think. I don't think McCree, you can leave him in trash tier. The only reason I'm going to leave him in trash tier is McCree is so vulnerable when he uses this. Like Soldier and McCree, look at their ultimates. Soldier can sprint around while he's using his ultimate. McCree stands still and he's like, well, it's high noon. I'm going to lock onto you with an automatic headshot, wait for it to cool down and then fire. He's dead. Again, this only really works in silver and below. Any other rank, people just go, oh, there's a high noon in McCree. And he shines like a Christmas tree. He's a literal big red light in the sky. You're like, oh, there's McCree. Oh, I'm going to shoot that McCree. You see him over there? Yeah, there's a big McCree. And you take him out. So, oh, it is kind of trash here. It's very hard to get value with this, but when it works, it is good. You can combo it really well. And there's a famous clip of Defran using Teleporter from Symmetra to Teleon to like what he thinks is high ground to use his ulti, but he actually gets sucked by an Orisa Holt at the same time. It throws him even further in the sky, and he just dead eyes the whole enemy team because he's in the sky behind them. So yeah, there are times where you do get value. A lot of the time though, yeah, just use Deadeye to get a free reload. The Peacekeeper. Yeah. Okay, 2 decidedly trash tier ults. I mean, I'm going to change the position because this means that this is the worst ult in the game. So we'll leave that for the end. All right, Death Blossom. It only works in silver and below. Everywhere else, people just deal with it. You should never die to Death Blossom, really. Yeah. That's all I can say about that. So hang on, let me explain. So you're very vulnerable while you use it. You're in the middle of the enemy team. They can crowd control you. They can just shoot you and kill you. Yeah, you get a lot of lifesteal from doing it if you're hitting the enemy team. But you're very vulnerable. If they've got a Diva, she just goes, no. If they've got a Sigma, he goes, no. And you got a problem. Yeah, it's just trash. Yeah, I mean, Temple of Anubis, second point. You can hide on the high ground, drop down and hit people with it. Hey, he gets value there. It's kind of it, really. It's a hard one to get a ton of value with. In fact, most Reapers I see generally think they're amazing when they kill like 3 players in a team after 3 players have already died in a fight, and then they use their ult, and then they're like, I'm actually god tier Reaper. It's trash. But the worst ultimate in the game is absolutely Barrage. This is just... has anybody actually ever seen a successful Barrage? Like, okay, we have back in 2016. But now, there's so many ways that you can be shut down with this ult. It just may as well not exist. It's the only ult in the game. Maybe Reaper's ult is the same. Maybe even McCree's is. But McCree could pop his ult and then cancel it and get a reload, so he gets some value from it. But Pharah's ult is like literally the only ult where you are at a disadvantage when you use it. And that is bad because you stand in the air, or if you're on the ground, whatever, but you're stationary. Yeah, you're firing loads of rockets. You're doing tons of damage, but you can get shot in the head by any hit scan and die. You can get put to sleep. You can get hit with a rock. You can get hooked. You can get sucked. You can get a barrier thrown in your face. You can get a diva in your face and then with a defense matrix. There's a lot that can stop you. And it's almost guaranteed there will be something on the enemy team to shut you down hardcore. And that's a problem. Not to mention, Blizzard likes adding heroes to the game that just delete Pharah. You want an air-to-air duel with Echo? Good luck. You're dead with Pharah because she'll just beam you and then you're dead. What about Batiste? He's a support, but he's got a hit scan weapon, so he's going to harass you. What about Anna? Oh, she's got a hit scan sniper. She'll just shoot you when you're in the air. Yeah, Soldier's pretty good right now. McCree's buffed on experimental. Ashe. I'm joking. Ashe exists. Need I go on? It is such a bad ultimate. All right, then. You guys agree with my beautiful list on the screen? I want you to let me know in the comments below. And I did look at the comments on the last video. They were beautiful. Let me know. Also, let me know on Twitter as well. Make your own. Send it me on @Stylosa, and I'll see that before I see the YouTube comments. Because loads of YouTube comments come through on Twitter. It stands out a little bit better. So it probably helps that I've got Twitter open on my monitor all the time over there, which probably isn't good for my mental health. But who cares about my mental health, ladies and gentlemen? All right, then. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, remember, you can follow me on everything, which is @Stylosa. And I'll catch you on the next video. Toodaloo.